Sade hit me up and said, checking in from Bryan, Texas, could this season be completely wide open with so many top teams having quarterback weaknesses? Now, I'm not totally sure what weakness is, but I got the impression that by mentioning top teams and weaknesses, Sade took it to mean that anyone who doesn't have a returning starter has weakness at quarterback. And it may be a wide open season. I don't know. I just don't look at some of these schools like Georgia, who doesn't have Stetson Bennett anymore. I wouldn't call Georgia having weakness at quarterback. I don't think Alabama, once we see a quarterback move on, I don't view them as having weakness at quarterback. Ohio State, I mean, we're watching Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud move on from those two schools I just mentioned. I don't think they're necessarily looking at a weakness. In fact, I think there are some places out there where you get a multi-year starter returning that would love to have Devin Brown, and they would love to have Jalen Milroe. They would love to have these guys, Ty Simpson, fighting, Kyle McCord, fighting for their starting job. That's not weakness. Weakness is having no options. See, that's why we get to this time of year, and a lot of folks out there want to call something a quarterback controversy. The only controversy is when you don't have one. It's not controversial to have competition. That's what it is. It's just competition. And we got into this big to-do the other day talking about Texas and talking about how Sark called it a competition at quarterback. And a lot of you said, it's not a competition. We already know who's going to start. And I said, even if you do know that, which you don't, you just think it. I think it along with you. I think Quinn Ewers is going to start. I would lean 90% to him being the starter. That doesn't mean there's no competition. A competition doesn't end when you name a starter. It's just a daily thing. If you want to call the battle over, if you want to call the race for number one over, you could temporarily say that once a starter is named. There is no end to competition ever. That just means if your competition has ended, you have ended. You have ceased to grow as a player or a coach. So that's this whole soapbox. But back to the main point, the main topic, the main question. I don't necessarily know that that's the way I would look at that. Now Sade said, will this year be wide open? Hey, we saw a wide open year a couple of years ago, and there was experience at a lot of places with quarterbacks. So certainly, I don't expect all these teams to have Heisman caliber quarterback play. Ohio State, Bama, Clemson's got a new quarterback and a new OC, although we know a whole lot more about their quarterback. Georgia, Carson Beck. It's been a little while since we saw that many of them having to replace a quarterback at the same time. So it's no guarantee. And one of them's probably going to end up struggling and disappointing, falling short of expectation. But just as sure as I say that, there's probably another one or two out of that group that are going to be in the playoff come season's end. And it turns out they weren't weak at quarterback. Jesse is having Colin run Penn State B-roll, forcing me to talk about Drew Aller. Why not? Let's throw Penn State in the mix. Are they weak at quarterback because Sean Clifford has moved on? I can't remember which retirement home he checked into, but it's Drew Aller's time now. Is he a weakness just because he hasn't started games? He could end up being better. They can improve. Some of these places, not necessarily suggesting that Bama or Ohio State will immediately improve over Heisman caliber quarterbacks, but Penn State could. They absolutely could. So, yeah, it could be wide open. Sure, it could be. I don't think it's going to be because quarterback's a weakness at the major programs. I just think the sport's evened out a little bit over the last few years. That would be my take on it. Guys, thanks for watching Late Kick. Make sure and leave a comment. I love interacting with you. But most of all, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. That's how we keep all of this free.